Following up on what was ultimately a pretty disappointing season 4 where we went 7-10, 2.5 games out of that final wild card spot. We saw some good play. We got 2 rookies in the first round, and both of those rookies ended up being players of the year, rookies of the year. Elliott, our quarterback, offensive rookie, and the defensive rookie being Hawkins. We also had best kicker in Moody. However, we didn't have any Pro Bowlers, and we have one final year in which we need to win a Super Bowl. And season 4 officially ends with a Bills Super Bowl, their first ever Super Bowl, finally separating themselves from the Minnesota Vikings, getting there several times and losing every time. They beat the Dallas Cowboys 21-14, and it's Anthony Richardson who's actually the Super Bowl MVP. You can see the yearly awards over on the right-hand side, and we won technically overall with Bernard Elliott, the offensive rookie of the year. However, the defensive rookie of the year kind of did go to Courtney Allen overall, but for the NFC side, it was our guy in Hawkins. So at least some positive, both of those players saw a development boost. And as we go into season 5, we will be without our mentor quarterback in Kirk Cousins. He finally retires after 15 years, but he's the only guy to retire. And as we hit the offseason officially, we have some re-signing we need to do. Mike Onwenu, we need to bring back. He's too good for us to try to replace, however, he doesn't have a whole lot of interest. We had to inevitably end up giving him the franchise tag last year. It actually saved us a little bit of money. We'll bump up the numbers a little bit here. It'll end up being 20.5 for the next 3 years. Obviously, we only have 1 year. And again, he's looking to play for a new team next year. But we could franchise tag him, and that would actually save us about $1 million. So that's most likely the route we're going to go down. Though before we do that, we also have some other signings that we need to do. Sky Moore, he's another guy who does not have much interest, but he's pretty much one of our best options right now. So again, we bump up the numbers, make it 7.5 for the next 3 years, and we're one of 2. Now, Ambry Thomas has been starting for us in the slot. We don't really have someone to replace him right now. I would like to keep him around. So again, we're gonna have to bump up these numbers a little bit, or at least we'll bump up the salary. We'll lower the bonus. It's gonna be a 3-year deal worth about $4 million. We'll make that offer, and he's gonna test. Now, David Ojabo, he really hasn't been playing much for us, so we're gonna let him walk. I do not, however, want to let Josh Metellus walk, so would like to lock him down. We've had to move him around a little bit, kind of just to help the middle of the defense of the cover, the linebacker spot primarily. He's done pretty well everywhere we've put him, and he'll come back for one final season. We also have Zaire Barnes, another one of our starting linebackers we need to try to keep around as well. A lot of signings we have to do, and it's eating into our final bit of cap, and he's just not interested in re-signing right now. Luckily, someone who is interested and has rotated out there a little bit, Mike Morris, will put in a decent offer, and that's at least finally someone signed. Now, Zach Seiler has regressed a little bit, but we don't have that many options. We're going to boost up the bonus, lower the salary a little bit. It's a 1-year deal, and he's also going to be testing. So we definitely did not do great in our closed free agency. Too many years in a row where we weren't winning and making it to the playoffs. So we've yet to do that, but we're not going to let Onwenu walk. We will franchise tag him, and we're gonna have to try to bring back a lot of these guys here in open free agency. And overall, I would say open free agency wasn't too bad. We did miss out on some guys. We brought back some guys and brought in Mike Dana to be an edge rusher for us. Hopefully, him and then Kwity Paye on the opposite side, that will finally be our best tandem. Hopefully. We did bring back Zach Seiler. Ronnie Bell returns after we traded him away, I believe, last episode. We also brought back Zaire Barnes, brought back Josiah Scott. Haskins is back, Okorafor is back, and Wiley is back. As for the ones we missed out on, at right tackle, there was Taylor Moton out of Western Michigan. I was trying to bring him in, then we could shift some guys around the offensive line and have a better center option, essentially one of the guards. Fortunately, he wanted to go to the Steelers. We also missed out on bringing back Ambry Thomas. He wanted to go to the Saints. So we'll see how much that affects us and if there's anything we could do in the draft to maybe fix that a little bit. And speaking of the draft, what are our options in this one? Well, we have a first round pick, 9th overall. We have 1 second, 1 third, 2 fourths, a 5th, 2 6s, and 2 7s, plus every other pick we have open to us in the future to maybe make some trades if we need to do that, but that would probably be more so after the draft. But we've got some options spread out. We just don't have a lot in the 3rd to 4, and that's important. We'll see that in a second. But in terms of our top tier prospect, that is going to be Justin Gomez. At least projected, he is a round 1, a speed rusher out of Michigan, 6'5", 260. He's 22 years old, has a whole bunch of player notes. You can read those if you want. He has pretty good speed, okay strength. He would have to be an outside linebacker, and we now have 2 solid guys out there. And it's not like he's coming in with fantastic ratings. So I'm really not all too intrigued here with Justin Gomez and feel like I have to pick him up. However, there are guys that I do like in this draft class, and we'll start over at the tight end spot with one of my more favorite in Tony Fowler out of Michigan State. He's 6'5", 255, and we now have an opening for at least that second tight end behind Schoonmaker. I think I kept calling him Schoonmaker, I think last time. I don't know, but he has decent speed here, running about a 4.7, pretty decent strength. Overall, a pretty solid athlete, but he's a well-rounded tight end. A's for catching traffic, catching, pass block, run block. Deep route running is a B, does have A awareness. Impact is a B, short route is a B. He looks like he could be phenomenal. He also has A to B trucking, stiff arm, stamina. I mean, solid pickup here. Round 3 to 4, he's probably closer to a round 2 if not higher, and we do have a second round pick that maybe we use on Tony Fowler. Outside of him, other options on the offensive side, there is Dion Charles, a receiver out of Grand Valley State. He's 6 foot 214. He's not a burner, running very consistently a 4.51. He's not very strong. He's not a great athlete across the board. Has maybe some short route running potential, but not great. There's also a day 3 running back in Marquise Cannon, 5'11", 195 out of Michigan. He's a receiving back who does not have great speed, not a solid athlete. Maybe has some decent hands, but the ball carrier vision is an F, and that's not going to be all too good in sim. However, where this offense redeems itself is on the offensive line. There was Sebastian Costa. We'll look at him first. I like the other guy better, but Costa is a decent guy here for the round 3 to 4. He's got some decent strength, overall decent athlete, and he looks to be a really good pass blocker. I just don't think we need any tackles. We have our 2 guys. Raymond has struggled, but for the most part, I think I trust the developed talent more than drafting someone and sticking them in for a true tackle. However, Andy Hawkins is at center, and that's a spot I am looking to upgrade. He is 6'4", 301, 22 years old, out of Michigan State. A round 3 to 4 projection, but true talent is a 1 to 2. A fantastic athlete across the board, and the blocking outside of the power is phenomenal. A for pass block finesse, run block finesse, even lead block is an A. He's injury prone, that is a D, but the awareness, impact, everything looks solid there for a center, and he could get a little bit of help at power with the guards. So Hawkins is definitely someone I want to pick up. As for the rest of the talent for the defense, outside of Gomez, I just don't really see much that separates him from some of these lower talents. I mean, obviously he has the C for power and block shed, but you could get a very similar pass rusher here in Ross Olsen, just not going to have the block shedding, or you could go just straight up finesse. Obviously none of these guys are going to be great starters for us, so they're not that big for us. There's Carlos Sweeting. He doesn't look like he's going to help us out much on the interior. Then obviously there's a linebacker, and linebacker was a problem for us last year, and Ronald Richards was about as good as I was hoping he would be. Another round 3 to 4 projection. True talent is around 1 to 2. He's 23 years old, 6 foot 239 out of Michigan. He runs anywhere from a 4.49 to a 4.42. Pretty decent strength. He could be really good. Has a lot of B ratings here for zone, man, block shed, has A awareness and injury. Tackling's also a B. He could definitely help us out. And he's probably the last of any of these defensive players who could probably help us out. Unfortunately, there's not much in the corners or in the safeties. There's Brian Peake at day 3. He has some man coverage, but no zone. I don't think it would really help us out at either corner or safety. So really the guys we need to bring in from this draft class Ronald Richards, definitely need to bring him in, and maybe we'll find someone late for the defensive line just as pure depth. Need to bring in Andy Hawkins, would love to also bring in Tony Fowler. Everyone else, so we really don't need a first round pick. We can move that down and take 2 second-round picks and go after the guys we know are first to second round, and Hawkins as well as the linebacker. And then potentially with that third, hopefully we'll still have Tony Fowler, though he very well could also be around 1 to 2. So frankly, we just need to get to our spot and see if there's a trade down opportunity that's going to help us out a good bit. Again, we pick at 9. So what are our options? And there are 2 options I'm intrigued with. First off, I was going to say, yeah, Raiders, you get a lot of selections here, including a first round this year, so we drop down to the 26th. We also pick up a second round pick, a 5th round pick, we get a 3rd next year, and we get a 7th for this year. But there was also one towards the beginning here with the Bills. We also stay in the first round, we drop to the last pick. We get a 2nd round pick, it will be the last in that round as well. But we get a 2028 first round pick. And that would go a lot further than a 3rd round pick if we were to make a trade to bring in whoever. So I think we go with the Buffalo Bills here. None of our guys should go in the first round that we are actually trying to bring in. So we're going to trade with the Bills. And they end up trading up to select a receiver in Chris Parker out of Georgia. But we could go ahead and jump down to our pick. Again, none of our guys should have gone. Fingers crossed that that's true. And Fowler is still there, so that's one of them, as well as the offensive lineman and Andy Hawkins still there. The top edge guy did go, but we weren't really going after him. And then the linebacker is still there. So right now, we have the 32, the 9th, and then the 32nd. So with us not having that final bit of information on the tight end in Tony Fowler, he also possibly might not even be the starter with us having Schoonmaker. So I think it would make the most sense to go with guys who we know could start. And Andy Hawkins, I believe, is that guy. He's a round 1 to 2 talent. This is right smack dab in the middle. We know how good he can be. Again, take a look at the ratings. A's everywhere. He struggles in the power, but he's going to have help at center. I think we go with Andy Hawkins. And he's a hidden dev with 91 strength, 84 acceleration, 80 jumping. Has a little bit of some speed and agility in there, the low 70s. Change of direction sucks, but that's fine. We got ourselves a new starting center, hopefully. And that also does well to fill in the fact that we did not get Taylor Moton. So all ends up working out pretty well. We'll just jump forward here. Hopefully we don't see any of our guys end up going. We just need to get to the 9th pick here in the 2nd round. The Rams end up going with a Clemson linebacker. Patriots go with a running back out of Cincinnati. Colts, safety out of Washington. Washington Commanders, they go with a Tennessee middle linebacker. We are 1 spot away, and it's a running back from UCF. So we can make our selection. We could go get our linebacker again that we know is a round 1 to 2 talent. Technically overdrafting the projections, but we know that's spot on. Ronald Richards. Hopefully that also opens up what Metellus can do for us, and maybe he plays slot corner this year. He's played it in real life. Richards is another hidden dev, 89 speed with 87 acceleration, 74 strength, 82 agility with 76 change of direction and jumping. Solid. And now we're about a full round away from our spot. I just want to see here, where in the line of all tight ends does our guy fall? And he's still 5 tight ends away. So we should be good. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. I'm going to jump ahead. If he ends up going, we'll sadly show it, but hopefully he's still going to be there. And the first tight end falls, not the tight end we were wanting to get, but a tight end available to us out of Central Michigan, Mason Barkley. And that was the 26th pick in the draft. So let's go together then. As it's a Stanford's free safety going to the Steelers. Vikings, they pick up a right end out of Miami. Saints, they pick up tight end out of Penn State. So we're getting close to when our guy's supposed to be. We're just a couple picks away. The Texans go with another tight end out of Auburn. Do we just need to check what the Cowboys need here? And at least in their top 5, it is not showing that they need a tight end. Who do they have? They have Jake Ferguson. That's fun, he stays with them. But maybe they could look for another one. I'm going to bank on them not considering their top 5. We're still pretty early on in this draft, still in the second round. One pick away. The Cowboys select a cornerback out of North Dakota State. All right, so that got a little bit dramatic, but we're fine. We could go get our guy, and that is tight end Tony Fowler. Again, we know he's around 3 to 4 projection, but the ratings just look like he's going to be so much higher than that. He doesn't have great break tackle, but that's fine. Injury is a concern, but he'd be maybe tight end too. Tony Fowler, a normal dev with 82 speed, 84 acceleration, 82 agility, 79 for both change of direction and jumping, and 76 strength. Very well could be tight end too. And we have another selection in just a handful of more selections. So let's just jump over to that one and we'll see what our options are. I mean, obviously we knew what our top guys were, but at this point, where do we go? We still have a third, 2 fourth rounds, a 5, 2 6s, 2 7s. There is Deion Charles. He just didn't look all too interesting to me, and he is a round 3 to 4. Do we have any other? There is another offensive lineman in Sebastian Costa, and he looked like he could be a pretty good tackle, but do we need more offensive line help? We could always bring in as much good talent as possible, maybe even trade it after. That's a possibility. Or do we look to trading a 3 actually probably wouldn't help us out. So just going BPA on what's on the board. Let's bring in as many guys as we can, I guess, and then we'll see what we get. Sebastian Costa. And he has really good pass blocking, some decent plain run block, a little bit of some run block finesse, not much power. But I think he could be a great backup at least. Sebastian Costa is a hidden dev, 84 strength, 78 acceleration, a little bit of some speed. If we end up not needing him, then trade candy. Though after saying that we could just pick up a bunch of guys in the 4th round here, the only option is Deion Charles, and we have 2 4th round picks very close together. I'd be more intrigued to see if I could take those 2 4th round picks, trade them for something higher in a future draft, and then use that to maybe trade for someone else. So let's see if that's an option. And this probably looks to be the best option we have. We could pick up a 3 and a 4 for next year, and then use that to maybe make some trades. So that seems like the best option for me. So we'll make that trade, and that'll move us to the 5th round. And with the 5th round and the 6th and 7th, I'd be more comfortable making some selections with the guys we have available. So once again, jump to those picks. So a full round later, who do we have? And Deion Charles is still there. There is another tight end. There is Jimmy Lucas. We don't need really any more offensive linemen. Carlos Sweeting is still there. So the draftable edge guys, they did go. So maybe they were better than I was giving them some credit for. There is the safety. Well, at this point, why not? Let's go with Deion Charles. At least some depth for the receiving group. He has 89 speed, 90 acceleration, 88 change of direction. Not much jumping, but has some agility. Normal dev. Now in the 6th round, where we have 2 picks fairly close by, still a tight end. The offensive lineman did go. Carlos Sweeting is still sitting there. It's interesting. They label him as a run stopper, but the block shed is a D, while the pass rush moves are both C's. So intriguing. Maybe he might be the best of these 2 bunches. And then honestly, we could probably get Brian Peak maybe with the next one. Let's take a look here at Sweeting. He's 6'2", 298. We could use some depth for the defensive line. He has some speed, not super strong, so he's going to be a right or left end. Maybe he could do at least a little bit of a rotation job for us, or depth. We'll go ahead and we'll pick him up. A normal dev with 85 strength with 74 speed, 82 acceleration with 76 jumping. He could probably play a good 3-4 left or right end. And just a few picks later, we could at least use some depth at safety. So Brian Peak, he's 5'11", 217, 22 years old, out of Michigan. He's not extremely fast, has a little bit of some strength, but he's pretty quick and agile. And a little bit of some awareness. The cover ratings just aren't fantastic, but will be depth for us and would be cheaper depth for us. So we get a normal dev, 88 speed, 85 acceleration, with a little bit of some jumping. Change of direction and agility aren't too bad. We'll see where he fits best. Now in the 7th round, everyone we have left are all potential undrafted players. However, there was one guy who seemed interesting, and I even spent a focus scout on him in Rich Swardson. fun last name. He's 6 foot, 225, 23 years old, out of Michigan. He's a pass cover linebacker, an area we have struggled. And yeah, he doesn't have great block shedding. It's a C to a D. But the coverages look really good. Tackling is solid with pretty good awareness and injury. All in all, I think he could be great depth at least, so sure. Rich Swardson is a normal dev with good speed, 87, 89 acceleration, has a little bit of some jumping and agility, solid depth. And with the final selection here in the Michigan State-only challenge, we're going to add some more depth to this defensive line in Connor Serra, 6'6", 276, 23 years old, out of Central Michigan. He's got some decent speed, a little bit of some strength, leaving a little bit to be desired, but he seems to be a quick, agile guy. And surprisingly, it's the power moves that he brings, not much else. He's at least not going to be injury prone. That's A to a D. Everything else is very suspect, but he's the best option we have here. And it's a normal dev with 79 speed, 82 strength, and 78 acceleration. Probably going to be a very low overall depth guy. But for the final time, let's check on this draft class. How good were a lot of these guys that their projections weren't anywhere close to what their true talent rating was? And the top 4 are not bad at all. Andy Hawkins is coming in at a 74, already a higher overall than our current starter there. As for the individual ratings, not too shabby. We obviously knew the power wasn't going to be his game, but the finesse looks pretty solid. He's got some decent lead block. Impact looks good. He's a starting caliber center. He's ranked 27th in the league, and he hasn't even played a snap yet, so I'm happy with that pick. Next up was Ronald Richards, and again, with a true 74, he's seeing a lot of boost right now. But tackling is fantastic, though that's going to go down. That's, I think, was from the final game of the season. But an 82 there with 74 play rec. All in all, I see a guy who could definitely help us out day one. Where he's going to get most of his playtime, we'll see. But we've probably had some regression from Spillane. And then I don't know if Lacey really had much development last year, so Richards could be a starter, and he does have that hidden dev. As for the tight end in Tony Fowler, he ends up being a true 72. As for the individual ratings, very solid across the board, and he's definitely in line to be tight end too. We then also took a shot on Sebastian Costa. He's a 75, another hidden dev, and actually the ratings look almost just as good, if not slightly better than the other guy that we took. Strength is a little bit lower. He's still a starting caliber offensive lineman, 31 ranked left guard. So if we end up not even starting him, he's very much could be a tradable player. He's definitely lower overall than the other options we have currently starting. So all in all, great pick, whether we use him or not. Past there, that's where we started taking some shot on some guys, and the best of the bunch is Rich Swardson. With the boost, he's up to a 72, but he's actually a 68. Again, just seeing a massive boost to the tackling and play rec, but the coverage is not too bad. The block shedding, not great, but solid depth for sure. And the receiver, we took a 67, not awful. He's a normal dev. He has a little bit of some short route running, not much of any release, so he's a slot receiver who has, what is his catch in traffic? Not great at a 71. He has some spec catch. He's depth for sure. As for the other depth players, we have Sweeting, who is a 63, and Brian Peak, a 63, and the final pick was 61 overall Sarah. So those guys will maybe fight for making the roster. We will see. But the top 4, fantastic. I think we got some good depth guys here in Charles as well as Swardson. So a very good final draft. And I did just want to check in on Justin Gomez before we left this screen. He ended up being drafted by the Falcons. He did have hidden dev, a 71 overall, but the power and the block shed just not there. 74 finesse is okay. Close to what we had in Robbie Thomas when we drafted him, but Thomas took off and we don't have enough time to have Gomez catch up. So I'm perfectly fine not picking him up. Everyone else that we took much later on was a higher overall. Now, before we get into the final season, I want to see what final moves we can make. And the defensive line, while it has improved a lot, I still feel like it's one of our weakest groups. And there's a couple different options we have. Max Crosby, or there is also Aiden Hutchinson. We'll start talking about Hutchinson. I'm going to tell you why I'm not going after him. He's a star dev, 94 overall. but he does not have any big rating here for block shedding. It's a 78. He has some strength. Tackling is a 91, but I looked at his stats and he's coming off a really bad season. I don't know if he was injured and missed most of this season. In fact, that very well could be the case, but it does not give me downs played here. But we need a guy who could also help out in the run. And we could get that a lot more with Max Crosby. Now, it would take a lot more to trade for Crosby. He's a 99 overall superstar X Factor. He has much better block shedding, by a good handful bit better. Better tackling, still has a finesse and power moves, and despite him being only 255 pounds, I still think he could play a 3-4 left or right end, wherever we decide to put him. So let's see if it's even possible here. Obviously, if we just ask, they're like, there's no trade packages you could give us. I doubt that that's the case. We have 2 first-round picks in this next season, plus the first in the following year and a first in the year after that. So I think we could come up with something that would work out here. We're going to offer, obviously, the first-round pick. I want to keep this other first-round pick because I have another thing I'd like to offer someone else. But we could definitely slap in 2 1s and a 2. Will that get us Max Crosby? Close, but they want a little bit more. And if we look at what they need offensive line help. And we just drafted someone who could help them out. Sebastian Costa. Add him to the board here. Could be pretty nice. Does that give us over the edge? Surprisingly, not that much. So we've loaded up the offer here. We got 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. Will that get it done? It will. Max Crosby joins us. However, I'm not done trading yet. I want to try to also get Jabril Peppers. He's on the older side at this point in his career. 31 years old. He's a star dev, but he still looks like he could be really helpful for us and would be a little bit of an upgrade for us at safety. So what do we have to offer here for the Commanders? They're actually willing to talk, and we're not doing straight up Daxton Hill. I want those two to play together. So instead, what can we offer? Well, they do also need help at the guard spot. So are they more interested here in Costa? Just straight up, where does this leave us? Not super high. So unfortunately, it does not seem like my tactic of drafting him and then using him to trade for someone is working all too well. Or how about we give him a 1 this next year and then a 3rd the season after? Is that closer? Very much closer. So we'll tack on one of the 4s from this next class, and there we go. We also bring in Peppers. And our final opening day starting roster is going to look a little bit different, more so over on the defense side. Offense, for the most part, has stayed the same. Outside of Hawkins, he's the only real new guy coming out and starting. Fowler will be the primary backup tight end 2. Roy Dickens is tight end 3. Everywhere else, really pretty much the same. A little bit of some difference for the backups. Receivers are still going to be Nico Collins and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Sky Moore is going to be the slot guy. Walker, the primary running back, with Sheldon and Haskins honestly splitting up the backup role. Elliott, starting day quarterback, he's up to a star. We still have Alden as the backup. Now defense is where we're shaking things up a good bit. Mostly the defensive line. Crosby and Thomas are the ends, and Zach Seiler's going to play DT this year. We're putting out the highest overalls possible wherever we can. Middle linebacker is going to see a lot of rotation. For the base packages, it will be the rookie Richards. He's our best run stopper, despite him actually having pretty decent cover ability. So it'll be him and Lacey. They have the top options for the block shed and will hopefully stop the run. Kwity Paye, Mike Dana on the outside. O'Shea really hasn't done anything. Technically, he's the higher overall over Dana. We're going to give Dana a shot because we just know O'Shea hasn't performed for us. Safeties, Peppers, Hill. Hill goes back to free. Peppers obviously comes in to play the strong. Hawkins and Sean Murphy-Bunting, still the top 2. Hawkins did go up to that superstar. And we did end up moving Metellus. You can't really quite see him. A little bit of him peeking over my head. But he's at corner this year. But he's still going to rotate a good bit. When we get to the specialist, again, primarily Walker the running back, Sheldon's going to be the backup 3rd down back, and Haskins power back. As for the slot receiver, it is Sky Moore, then Ronnie Bell, and then Fitzgerald. Slot corner, as mentioned, is going to be Metellus, then Carrington, then Scott. We're going to start with this lineup here for the defensive rush. Kwity Paye, Max Crosby, Zach Seiler, and Robbie Thomas. We can move some guys around as well. Maybe even Thomas goes over to left and Kwity Paye is a higher overall at right. We can mess with that a little bit. Sub-backer, again, it's changing a little bit. Lacey and Barnes are going to be the primary guys there with Spillane. If we need to, Daxton Hill or Peppers can also come play sub-backer. Metellus can drop to safety and we bring someone else in the nickel. We're going to have to keep an eye on this defense to see how they're performing because we have a bunch of guys we could rotate, which is great. But as is tradition, we have to start off with a game against our rival, the Green Bay Packers, and we need it to be a hot start here so we don't have to get too worried at the end of the season. So if we could win against our rival here, that'd be a great start. And our final season gets underway on offense. The side that didn't see as much change, just growth throughout the series. A couple trades here and there as we do not gain a single yard. We even lose a yard on play one. Walker's got to be able to find something there. We've got to be able to set him up a little bit better as we stick with heavy looks. One thing to note, we have changed the offensive playbook as we do find some running lanes there. A gain of about 10. But we're at least starting off using the Ravens playbook. I just felt like it would fit a little bit better with Elliott, provide him a little bit more scrambling opportunities or straight runs as we've just straight ran it here. But on top of Elliott, I also thought they would fit Walker. He's a balance between power as well as elusive. And this gives him that ability to use both of those. As Elliott has to scramble here, he runs back about 20 yards. Not 20, but about 15, and he's going to lose all of those. If we're to have a good season this year, we need big plays from Elliott. As it's 2nd and 23, it will be a throw from the pocket. Clean this time, lofted well. That's Walker right down the seam, and Hufanga drags him down at the 10. Hey, we needed the big plays. If it's still through Walker, through the air, I'm going to take it. As we come out here, it's spread empty. We got 3 up top, 2 down to the bottom. Elliott, clean pocket, will find his target who takes a nice little hit there, Nico Collins. But yeah, I do think the Ravens playbook will fit if the offense is struggling. I was also suggested the Eagles playbook. I took a look at both. Both seem pretty similar, so I'm rocking with the Eagles as that's an amazing touchdown. However, there is a flag down. And it's going to unfortunately wipe out the helicopter touchdown, holding on the rookie center. So 2nd and 16 at the 16. As it's another clean pocket, throwing towards the middle, diving in. We still get an aerial touchdown, though this one goes to Donovan Peoples-Jones. We traded for him last year, and we finally see him get in the end zone. Well, we saw a nice array there of play from the offense, but now it's time to see what this defense can do. The side that saw the most amount of change. As it's going to be a run towards the top, play one, and they'll gain a few yards before we drag him down. It is Gibbs. And it looks like Max Crosby rocking the 77 here with the squad. I don't know how much I like that, and by how much, it's pretty much 0, as there's a good stop. Be a short gain from Lacey getting the stop. We'll bring up our first 3rd down, hoping we're going to see a whole lot more pass rush this year. We have the best defensive line we've had yet, and by far with the trade from Crosby. See how he does on the inside, as it's actually going to be a catch. Zaire Barnes not great in coverage there. Now he is getting one of these starts as the sub backer. My concern with him is his awareness and play rec, though the cover ratings are better than guys who have the better awareness and play rec, as we get some pressure there and it's tipped away on the outside. As long as we're not giving up easy plays, I will take it. And that definitely wasn't easy. In the face of the quarterback as well, tight coverage from Hill. I like what I'm seeing. Holding down the middle, but it's almost picked off by Lacey. We'll say at least out the go. He's having his name called a lot. He didn't get much of a chance to play it last year. We went with Spillane, but Spillane did regress a bit. Open things up as there's a sack from Robbie Thomas. We'll end the drive and we'll start getting through this game a little bit quicker. Now I do wonder who had the bets on who was going to get the first sack, Robbie Thomas or bringing in Max Crosby. Honestly, I thought it was going to be Crosby, as we have a 3rd and 10 here, and we pick up 16 to Sky Moore. We're obviously going to watch if we get inside the red zone here, but trying to get through the first game a little bit quicker since it's a full season for us to go through. As we have a 3rd and 5, well, Okoronkwo, I appreciate it. We're down inside the red zone. There were times throughout last season where we weren't scoring as efficiently as we thought we probably should have, and defense actually surprisingly did better than what the win record was showing. And actually, to me, it looked like the defense played the better season. However, the offense on paper was better. We'll see what it ends up being here, as that's a wobbly pass up top, knocked away from Donovan Peoples-Jones. Well, that'll bring up a 3rd and 10. We're at the 18. First down is at the 8. That's how math works. We've got a bunch down to the bottom, one up top. Will be a pass. Elliott rolling. Gonna go out to Walker, who slips by the first defender, but gets dropped at the 12. While part of me would like to go for this, we'll take the safer option here. We'll send out Moody, who was 100% last year. This would put us up 2 scores. And it will be 2 scores, make it 10-0. And as the Packers start their next drive, we see good play. Well, there it is. It came within a spread of 2 plays. Max Crosby gets the sack. 3rd and 7. We hold him to just a run of 2. Defense already looking really solid with how much we've invested in them. We need it. And they need a lot more yards here as we're backed way up. And that'll definitely help us out. It's 3rd and inches, and Elliott will scramble. This is why I wanted to switch to the Ravens. I wanted to utilize not throwing interceptions. They're down to the 1, and they get the touchdown with Jahmyr Gibbs. I was wanting to get him going with that athleticism, try to open up some yards that way, see if that would help the offense. If we see a lot more big plays from Schoonmaker, love it. If we see a lot more interceptions or fumbles from him, we could definitely try to tone it back. But I want to utilize what we have, and we have a first down inside the 25. It's not exactly inside the red zone, but we have maybe 1 play left here before the 2-minute warning if we get the snap off. And we will hand this one off. Walker with space down the middle. He's going to get inside the 10 and will get dropped at the 8 for the 2-minute warning. Allow everyone to recoup their stamina and go right back at it. It's a double A gap look for the defense. We try to set up the screen. And then I'm pretty sure one of those guys just got absolutely demolished by that ball. Looked like it either went into the back of the tackle or maybe into Okoronkwo. Either way, 94, 93 arm strength to the back is not going to feel good, nor is not getting any yards on that one. 3rd and goal. We're at the 7. As we have a bunch down to the bottom, 1 up top. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Shotgun look here. Elliott, we haven't seen him run, and we're not going to. It's a handoff to Walker. And we're going to have to send out Moody once again. Kicking from the 8 to make this a 6-point game. It is up and through. So we're definitely leaving a lot of points on the field here. Need to get better in that. But we're going to watch this drive with the defense. Under a minute and a half. Packers have 2 timeouts. Can we hold them here as we get some pressure? I'm not even sure who that was. Either way, they get the ball out, and it's a gain of 8 and out of bounds. Actually, now that I think about it more, rotation guys down the middle, possibly Naquan Jones, I believe. He's getting a little bit more play time this year as it's lofted down and tipped away. Great coverage there from Hill. We'll say so far his coverage has been tight in this one. He's been targeted twice, and he's knocked it away twice. It's 3rd and 2, though. Quick slant going to get caught for the first down. They're up to the 42. However, they do not elect to call a timeout there as they take under a minute left here in this half. Will be another quick throw, another quick tackle. We'll say this team has pretty good speed all across. Maybe a little bit more speed could be had at like slot corner as Kwity Paye nearly gets the sack there. Instead, they get it out to 82. He's had several catches already this drive. That is Downing. Not sure if that's their tight end or if that's just one of their slot receivers. Does look like tight end. He's at the top of the bunch. As they go his direction again, but the pass is off from Callahan. It's 4th and 3. We'll head into halftime from there. Left a lot of points out there in that first half. Need to see some better play from Elliott. Get the ball in the end zone. It should be 21-7. But as we do get this second half underway, we'll get it underway in a quicker fashion as Jabril Peppers has a 5-yard penalty before anything ever even happens. Great. As they're up towards the 40, they do get 4, then a throwaway, leaving 3rd and 6, and another throwaway. So defense continually playing well. We just need the offense to get some points as they start with 7-2 Walker, and he'll pick up the first down with a 3 he didn't get on first down. Then follow it with 9. Again, we're going to see a lot of Walker. He's our best offensive weapon. He just needs to stay healthy. As we find Schoonmaker for 12, we're into plus territory here. Again, we get inside the red zone, we'll jump in. Or we're down to the 3. Yeah, great time to jump in. I was going to say we could just go ahead and skip it, but considering how bad we've done this close to the end zone, let's watch instead. As we hand it off, it's Walker, who's down to about the 2. He's already sitting with 18 carries, 83 yards. You can see him in the backfield. He looks exhausted. As we will go with a throw, sidearmed, and it was rocketed in there, but knocked away by Hufanga. And that leaves us with a 3rd and goal again. We struggle down inside the 10 already, as it's a heavy set. We do hand it off with a lead blocker and bouncing it in. We will widen our lead as Walker finally gets his well-earned touchdown. And on top of it, we're going for 2, looking to make this 21-7, what we should have had in the first half. As we hand it off, it is stuffed fumbled even. Luckily, the recovery doesn't quite matter there. We still hold on to a 19-7 lead. And as long as the defense continues to play as they have been, knocked away for the 3rd time by Hill, I think we'll be all right. Sack from Kwity Paye, everyone getting involved up front. And we hold again on 3rd down. Stephon Diggs, his one and only catch, I believe, on the day is just 3 yards. And we start pretty much at midfield, get 3 from Elliott. 2nd and 7, Walker will then get another 3, leaves 3rd and 4. We get 21 to DPJ. Does he even go by that? I don't even know. But that's what we're going to go with because it takes way too long to say the full name. It's 3rd and 3 as we hit the 4th quarter. We do convert. Let's jump in. If we could route them here in the 4th quarter, that would be great. We start at the 10. It's 1st and goal barely. So it's about as long as a 1st and goal as a 1st and goal can be. As we hand this one off, Walker trying to find some space, fights off 1, plows through another 2. We're down to the 5. He's already at 23 carries, 100 yards. But you can kind of see why the Ravens running backs break down so much. We're relying a lot on Walker as he gets picked up, slammed down at the 2. Honestly, part of me would like to see a read option play here. But we'll see if that's what we go with. Instead, it'll just be a throw down to the bottom and through the hands of DPJ. But we're already up a couple possessions, so why not go for it? At least that's what the coach is thinking here. And Charles Woodson, we go fullback dive, and he can walk in. Trey Gibbons freezes the linebackers, and he's not going to have an easier touchdown than that. And with a 19-point lead, under 6 minutes left, I feel like we could try to get through this a little bit quicker. Can the Packers get anything here? No. Defense stops them. They've been phenomenal today, and we get a huge touchdown there. Hold up. Who did it? Kenneth Walker ran for 46 yards, tacking on his 2nd touchdown of the day. I think that is good enough here. Let's get to the end of this one as the Packers will not add any more points. It's a dominant win in division to start this season. We just got to keep that same energy going. And we would indeed keep this one rolling, doubling the points of the Buccaneers in the next game, 28-14. And in this game, Walker absolutely went off. 16 carries, 233 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did he get involved much in the receiving game? He had 1 catch for 3 yards. But he had the opportunity to have the X Factor breakout after this game. Unfortunately, that one did not go all too well in a 1-point win over the Seahawks. It was a close one, but it looked like more so we just had to hold on in that one as they scored more in the 4th quarter, but it was not as big of a game for Kenneth Walker. 16 carries, 85 yards, no touchdowns. And in the receiving game, he had another 1 catch, 5 yards. He did have a touchdown. He needed 4 total, only the 1. So either way, it was a good team win as we would then go to the Chargers in the following week and we would win by 10 and then by 7 against the Chiefs. And that gets us through the bye, where the first game we have here is against the Bears. Bears, we've had hit or miss play against. We've had some pretty good tight games and some blowout losses. And the Bears have been the one winning division throughout the majority of this series, but the Vikings have also given us a lot of trouble. We play them pretty soon, next couple games, but then you got to go all the way down to week 18 for that final game against the Vikings, and that very well might decide who wins this division, perhaps. As we sit right now, due to the bye, the Vikings are in first in the NFC North, 6-0. We are 5-0. The Bears are just sitting at 300. But also, if you look at the total NFL, the Vikings are also on the top. And surprisingly, the Raiders, they have at 2, when they've won less games than we've had, and they've lost more games than we've lost. So, doesn't make sense to me, but we hopefully will correct that soon. But every divisional game can be a pretty big one. So I do want to jump in and sim through this game. We'll go quarter by quarter, but hopefully we'll just get all the way through. And hopefully it'll be another win, though this is probably the best defense we've faced so far. They are an 89 rating. Their offense 85, but somehow they're just sitting 3-3. Micah Parsons, though, in week 7, 9 sacks. Now this is going to be a wet one out here, and it's hopefully one that Walker will thrive, as hopefully we don't have many fumbles, but it's actually the Bears who take the lead through the first quarter, 3-0. As we start the second, it's another field goal for the Bears. They're the only ones to score so far, and they will hold it through the third quarter, 6-0. No one putting any major points on the board here. As we give up another field goal, we get a field goal, and it looked like the Bears were driving as they are down inside the 15. Well, clearly our offense struggling in this one, and we're having to jump in due to how close this game is. It's a 6-point game, but they can make it a 2-score game with any amount of points. As they throw it up top, it's going to be a first down, at least slipping by the first tackler. First and goal at the 5. And the Bears have had plenty of talent on their team. And their quarterback, last time we played against them, threw 5 touchdowns on us. Up to this point, no one's been able to find that touchdown. And if we could do anything about that, turnover here would be fantastic in keeping some points off the board. Greatly needed as we're under 6 minutes left here. They hand it off. Hazelwood stuffed by Lacey. He's looking really solid in at least what we have watched. Consistently getting involved. It's 3rd and goal. Hard count, no one jumps. We send 4 only, and they find their target, but it's through his hands. Hawkins gets lucky with that knockout. 4th and goal, though. Still an opportunity to go up 2 scores. This field goal would put him up 9 with around 5 minutes left, unless we could get a block or he slips. It's neither. It is the 9-point game. And up to this point in the game, our offense has actually had more yards, 79 rushing, 165 passing. So where are we having our struggles? Well, we haven't had any interceptions, and passing accuracy, completion percentage seemingly being okay. 68 could be better. As for Walker, he's averaging 5.6 yards a run. We're just not getting the ball in the end zone. So as our offense heads out here, we need to see their best drive yet. We need a touchdown. We need a good stop on defense, and then we need some more points. As we start with a swing out up top, we get 4 to Sky Moore. Obviously, simming through a lot of these games, not quite sure, but maybe this is the first rain game of the season here for us. We play indoors, so maybe we're just not quite used to it. As we hold on to that one, it is Schoonmaker bringing up 3rd and 2. I feel like I would trust us to convert this one with a run. We just need some good blocks. We got the fullback out there to help lead the way as it's a read option. Elliott is close, but he does not quite get it. Samuel has the clutch tackle on the outside, but we're going for it here. We're just by the 40. Need the blocking for Walker when we will get the blocking. Just not a whole lot extra after that run. But as long as we convert, that's what we need. Keep this drive going. We're up to about the 45, just shy of. As we send the rookie Tony Fowler in motion, the tight end. Look for some play action, going to the bottom, and we will find Schoonmaker and out of bounds. A fairly long developing play to just get 4, but gets us a little bit closer to the end zone, though. We're running out of time. 3:05 on the clock, and we need 2 scores. Elliott going up top, and it is swatted, intended for Sky Moore. Needed a lot more under that one. That leaves us with a 3rd down that's pretty big. We got 4 up top, 1 down to the bottom. They do bring down the safety. It will be single high. Elliott across the middle has the first down. That's going back to Sky Moore. We just need a shot towards the end zone here, guys. We're running out of time, and I figure like I might need to jump in here to help manage this clock a little bit more as they send the blitz. Yeah, we're going to need to jump in as Jack Conklin's shaken up. Potentially something with that right leg. Luckily for us, that does give us the opportunity to stop the clock, but we need some big play here, and we need it, honestly, pretty quickly. As we have our tight end, it's Shoemaker with a great throw from Elliott. A flag will stop the clock, and I'm pretty sure that's going to half the distance to the goal, as it is a face mask. Just got to get this one in the end zone quickly here. Shorten the route from Moore. I want that to the back pylon. DPJ on the quick stop. We got options, or right down the middle, it will be Elliott walking in, as we've seen the Vikings do that so often against us. We do it against the Bears. We at least took care of the first thing we had to get taken care of, which was the touchdown. But now we need a stop on defense. Again, this is the best defense we've had, as Hazelwood keeps those legs moving before getting picked up. Can't move the legs if you aren't on the ground. They do pick up 4 there and send us to the 2-minute warning. It's a free timeout here for us, as we still have 3 remaining. And with 6 yards left for them to get the first down, it's crucial we do not let them get those 6 yards. They got a bunch down to the bottom. They got multiple guys pulling. Does not work. We get the quick tackle. It's now 3rd and 8. We call our first timeout. They spread wide. They will throw for it. Up top, and it's a bad throw. We'll keep 2 timeouts for a chance on offense. And once again, pretty lucky for us, it was not a good punt. We start up at the 40. We just need a field goal. As we will start with the halfback screen, getting it out to Walker. Got a couple of blockers in front, but only one of them did their job. So it'll just be a gain of 4. We're not calling the timeouts yet. We could let some time run. We need to get to around opposite 40 to 35 as Elliott scrambles, and he does not get rid of it. It is 3rd and 15, about as bad as it could have gone on that play without a turnover. And once again going with the halfback screen, and it's off the top of a helmet. So that leaves us with a 4th and 15, our first loss staring at us in the face. As we're going to make a couple different changes here. I would actually want that to be, we can't make that change, so never mind. I was hoping we'd have delayed flat release from Shoemaker going to the opposite side. Either way, we got all the routes we can have. As we're having to roll out, we need someone to get open at the sideline. It's lofted. We have Walker, makes the first guy miss, and he dips out. We're at the 20, but he might have thrown that past the line. And that's a loss of down situation. That should be a turnover on downs. And as we go to approach, it's clear there was not any part of the body still behind the line by the time he threw it. It's a correct call. And with that, unless something crazy happens, which I do not expect, as they kneel this one out, that will be game. We just crossed the line. I say just. It was about a good 1.5, 2 yards, but we lose our first game, and it's in division. Now, we luckily bounce back in the next game, but by no means was it a decisive game. Defense did great. Offense, no, and for some reason, they're just struggling of late. Elliott threw under 100 yards in this one. Walker ran for over 100, so something is going on with this offense, because we got to get it sorted. Through to the bye week, we scored 33, 28, 21, 31, 31. After the bye, in the next 2 games combined, we've scored less points than our lowest scoring game, which was a win against the Seahawks, 21-20. So I don't know what's going on with them, but they've got to get going, and it's got to be now, because next up is the Minnesota Vikings. At this point, they are still the number 1 team in the league, and obviously that means they're still going to be number 1 in our division. They have 2 more wins than us, and we have 1 more loss than they have. So we need to pull one back here, make them 8-1, us 7-1. That'll leave the bye to really differentiate. But we need a win here, and I don't think we've beat them once this series. Luckily for us, this first one is a home game, and we need the offense to come alive, though through the first quarter, no one scores. As we get into the second, it will be a touchdown from the Vikings, in which we do not answer, though we hold and eventually find the leveler before half and keep it at that. 7-7 to start the third quarter. I would love for us to pull away here. Instead, Vikings take a lead, and we begin the fourth quarter. It did look like they were about to continue to grow that lead as it's 3rd and 3. They pick up 9, and they're inside the red zone. Already up a field goal. A touchdown would put them up 10, and we haven't scored more than 10 in any of our last 2 games. As they dump this one off across the middle, it will be a catch, gain of 5. We did pick off Lamar Jackson in this one. He's also thrown a touchdown as he finds Rashid on that one. Leaves 2nd and 5 down to the 13. They got 2 down the bottom, 1 up top. Jackson from a clean pocket towards the end zone, but overthrows his open target. We need the defensive line to come through for us here. It is 3rd and 5. Under center, motioning over the receiver. They fake the jet sweep down the middle. We stuff them. It will be the field goal unit headed out. Christian McCaffrey held to 42 yards on 13 carries. Is not too bad. Obviously, this is the best defense we've had by far in this series. And so far, knock on wood, we're doing the best we've ever seen against the Vikings. A touchdown drive would put us in front. And I don't know if the real difference between the before the bye and after the bye is maybe tape. Teams now have an idea of how we run our offense after switching to a new playbook, and now they're just doing better against us. It also could be the fact that we've played against at least one really good defense with the Bears. Honestly, I don't think the Cardinals had too good of a defense. We just struggled in that one. 2nd and 7. Hopefully we could start to build some momentum as Elliott's gotta get rid of it. You spin around 18 times and take a sack for a loss of 15. It's never gonna be good. 3rd and 20 back at our 15. We got 3 up top, 1 down to the bottom. Elliott with a pocket, having to roll, goes deep downfield, has a wide open target. It is Shoemaker. I would prefer us not make things difficult, but if we're gonna get difficulty, at least have a big catch there. As we go across the middle, it's thrown straight to the linebacker. Did I jinx us? Perhaps. Now that makes things even more difficult as Shaheed pops off for 15. A sack comes in for Crosby, 2nd and 15, will now be 3rd and 15. And it's Alec Pierce, 47 yards to the house. That might just be the dagger, plus they get the 2 point. Unless we could get quickly get a touchdown here. It's all but said and done. We're about 3 minutes left, 2 throwaways, 3rd and 10. We get 5. I assume we go for it, and it's a sack to end this game. We get rid of all of our timeouts. We're back on offense. Under a minute, 22 yards Nico Collins, 11 to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Maybe we should jump in. Though, clock very much running. They did not use their timeout as they should have. We're sub 20 seconds. We need a touchdown, and we need a onside. Well, we're going to have to call the timeout there. 13 seconds left. Got to have the touchdown here and then get really lucky on an onside. We swing it out too far for DPJ. Luckily, it only took off 3 seconds, but that's 3 seconds we might have needed. 2nd and goal. About to the outside, it's Nico toe tapping. We pull one back here, but we still need the onside. And it'll be with 6 seconds left. Do we have any big plays still left here in us? Moody sends it right to Cross. We do not force the fumble, and that will be game. Our first 2 losses on the season come in division. I've said it several times, the easiest way to make the playoffs is to win your division. Right now, it's looking like it might have to be big wins outside of the division, and we've got to correct this downslide. And in the next handful of games, we would barely correct that. A 1-score win over the Packers, though, is big. We sweep one of our divisional opponents. And then the 49ers, we barely get the win, 12-10, another close game. There was a misstep in here, quite a large one. Against the Bears, we lost 17-0. That means we were swept by a divisional opponent. So we've swept one, we've been swept. That leaves the Minnesota Vikings. And again, they're week 18. They won the first one. It might come down to that. We were able to get another 28-14 win over the Broncos and another 1-score game, which we won over the Eagles 20-13. That leaves us 4 games left. As we sit here, we are a game and a half behind the Vikings. Obviously, we just have the one loss difference, but they beat us in the head-to-head. So even if they lost, we won, they would still have that half game. In terms of the NFC in general, we're actually looking pretty decent right now. With 4 weeks left, it could all change a good bit depending on how those 4 weeks go. We sit 10-3, Rams same record, the Cowboys 9-4, pretty close. Again, we drop a game, they win a game, they could take over. Bears, we haven't done very well against them. They swept us, so them being 8-5 is dangerous here for us. So by no means at this point is it for sure that we're making the playoffs. But we can make it for sure if we continue to get some wins. And next up are the Rams, the very same team we share a record. And they don't have as good of an offense supposedly as we have, but it's been our offense that has struggled to do much. We are dead last in the league in passing yards, though first in rushing yards. So the receivers, they have not helped us out this year. Maybe it's on the quarterback, I don't know, but we're very much relying on a really good defense and a strong running game against a team that they're kind of slightly or around average in pretty much everything outside of points. So can we get a win here? Yes. Yes, we can. And it took a 21-point second quarter. Outside of that, we only scored 7 points, though we only gave up 10. We had a little bit over 300 yards, and the rushing compared to the pass, dead even, 151 each. So very much we are relying a lot on, well, Alden apparently coming in and throwing one pass that was caught for 16 yards. Maybe that was a big catch. Either way, I don't think Elliott is being a leader with this team. It's what we saw last year. He's just a field general. But we've had to rely a lot on Kenneth Walker. 4 yards a rush, 2 touchdowns. Though we did see a good running game for Bernard Elliott. He had 44 yards and another 2 touchdowns. So we very much are just a run-first team. The receiving isn't anything special for us. We at least had a first down a catch from DPJ and close to Schoonmaker, but we're just not throwing a lot. And still, we sit a game and a half away from the Vikings. They have clinched the playoffs. If they lose a game in between now and our head-to-head and we win that game and change, we still have a chance to win this division. But it's coming down to the wire. And next up is a Ravens team that has not done all too well this year. They're 6-8. We cannot get stuck in a trap game. And it's another one we would sneak by. Another touchdown game. 24-17. We get by the Ravens. And it was one that actually came through primarily passing yards from us. 264-87 for rushing. Elliott threw 3 touchdowns in that one, 80% completion against Will Levis, who had 2 touchdowns and interception 68. Who was the leading guy for us? And it was DPJ. 86 yards on 7 grabs, did have a touchdown. Kenneth Walker had 4 grabs, 73 and a touchdown. Smith and Jigba had a pretty good game against us. Sky Moore just 3 catches, 50 yards, but did have a touchdown. Nice seeing some things come together for the passing game. But that's not even the best news. The Vikings lost to the Giants, 26-21. And what maybe was a last-second touchdown? They only scored 6, so maybe it was just field goals. It does not matter. The Vikings lost, which leaves both of us sitting on the same record heading into Week 17. Now, they play the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that we beat earlier on this season. We play against the Raiders. And the Raiders are another team that have not done very well this year. They sit 6-9. They're going to have a losing season. But the Chiefs, even worse. They're 5-10, tied for bottom in the AFC. So both the Vikings and us should win this week. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. And the Vikings pull off their win. It's 28-20. They get a 1-score game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Did we match? Yes, we did. Almost an identical 1-score game, though they had 8. We won by 7 once again against the Raiders. And this one was off a big running day for us. 209, passing just 135. But that leaves the big head-to-head in Week 18 to decide Who is the king of the North? The Vikings and ourselves both 13-3, fighting for, well, a lot right now. As we take a look at the playoff picture, whoever wins this game gets the first round bye. Either way, we're going to be making the playoffs, but it's a big difference in seeding. First versus fifth, or maybe that might even change a little bit. But this one's a pretty big one. Against the Vikings, a team we have still not beaten. A lot on the line. First round bye, we could get through the playoffs a little bit easier if we don't have to play that one extra game. Against a team we have not beaten, but we're the better team on paper, 87 across the board. But still, they continue to just outperform us every single time. Can we change that here and maybe even end up facing them again in the playoffs? Now, they got the better of us in our home. I would love to get the better of them in our, as we actually take a lead at the end of the first quarter. That is rare here for us against the Vikings. It's 7-3 as we continue on, though the Vikings quickly retake that lead, but we take it back 14-10. Vikings nearly level it before half. It is 14-13 as we get through the third quarter. A lot of defensive play, and we rattle off a couple touchdowns. We give up a touchdown, but the fourth quarter hits, and we are up 27-20. Everyone, come on, cross your fingers, knock on wood. We need some good luck in this one. We've yet to beat the Vikings a single time this series. As we get stopped here, 4th and 10 at the 39, we got to punt away. We need a big half from this defense. Keep points from happening, and that will definitely do it. Josh Metellus gets the INT against his real-life team. We take over in plus territory, though we lose 3. 2nd and 13, we get 7 back, throwing it to the fullback, leaves 3rd and 6. We pick up 3. Field goal makes it a 2-score game. Let's be smart here, or apparently we're going for it. That's what I wanted to do in the first place. I like the risk that we took there with Charles Woodson. Going for it on 4th, a chance to make this a 2-score game. As Elliott throws down to the bottom, it is through the hands. I believe that was Donovan Peoples-Jones. And behind the scenes, I've even been upgrading our coaching, putting a lot of points into better hands for our receivers, hoping that would spark the offense. Instead, we just got to keep feeding Walker. 19 rushes in this one, 75 yards, but most importantly, 4 touchdowns. He's had all of our points, which if he's had 4 touchdowns, that means that we missed an extra point at some point, or we went for 2. I don't know. But we don't pick up the first down. 4th and inches. But as Walker motions on the sideline, keep us out there, we will do just so. Goal line set, handing this one off. Givens right down the middle. Perfect run for the fullback. He gives us a 2-score lead against our biggest rival. And if everything goes to plan, he just gave us the first seed in the NFC. And our first win against the Vikings. Though there's still 3 minutes, they pop off for 16 here. Need the defense to continue to play well. As Lamar scrambles, picks up the first down. Then it's dropped by Elijah Moore. 2nd and 10, a sack coming in from Zach Seiler. Leaves 3rd and long. It's a throwaway. 4th and game. The Vikings get 31. Wow. Keeping their hopes alive. It's a sack from Max Crosby. And I feel like we should jump in here. As we expected, a great showdown here in Week 18. It is 34-20, though the stadium eerily quiet right now. As Lamar is knocked away, it is Lacey across the middle. Apparently, the Vikings fans didn't show up in this one, which is very unlike them. Where is the skull chants? It's 3rd and 16. As Lamar in the pocket, trying to buy some time, dumps it off, and it's through the hands of Christian McCaffrey. And I'm not sure if you caught the stat line there real quick. We've picked off Lamar 4 times in this game. The best game we've played so far, and it's Uche getting the sack. That should seal it. He got benched this year after we signed a new edge rusher in Dana. And he probably just sent us to the playoffs with the first round bye. All we have to do here is just run some clock. They do have 3 timeouts, though we are up 2 scores. So all should be said and done. But just to make sure we don't do anything dumb, I am jumping out here to make sure we just finish this thing off well. Trying to follow some blocks. Walker down the middle will pick up apparently just one. And on 3rd and 5, they still have a timeout left. We'll stick with a similar play here, but it's the read option dialed up. We'll see how they act against it, and they bite in, but it's a great job from their safety. We will have to punt after they called their final timeout. It looked like Elliott was going to get the clean run around the end, but just heads up play there from the corner, maybe safety. Either way, it was a DB, as Lamar still has a chance and lofts it well to their tight end, but we do well to keep him inbound. It's Dulcich with a nice gain up to the 37, but they have no way of stopping the clock outside of checking the ball into the dirt or throwing a pick to officially end it. It's Josh Metellus with at least his second, and it is indeed his second of the day. We're going to the playoffs, and it's with the first round bye. Our first win against the Minnesota Vikings is about as big as it could have been, though I still expect we see them once again in the playoffs, but we get the better hand this time in their house, 34-20, a great way to end our regular season. And there we go, making it official. The first time we make the playoffs in this series, it is in dramatic fashion, and it is with the bye. Number 1 seed, the Cowboys finish 2. They take on the Giants 7, Rams 3, Bears 6. So nearly our entire division ended up making it. Outside of one team, the Packers. Fine by me. And then down at the bottom, you do have the 4 seed Saints taking on the 5th seed Vikings. So if we did lose that game, we still would have been in. It would have been the 5th seed. We just would have had to play one more game. But we don't have to do that now with the first round bye. Over on the AFC side, show a little bit of some love. Dolphins are the 1 seed. Chargers take the 2, taking on the 7 Broncos. 3 Titans, 6 Patriots, and then behind my head you have the 4th seed Steelers taking on the 5th seed Bills. Bills were in the playoffs last year. They won their first Super Bowl last year. Can we get a Super Bowl here? That'll be for next episode to find out, at least if we continue. If you are new to this series, obviously it's long form, right? We're typically around an hour, if not over an hour. When we get to the playoffs, it changes. It's one game per episode. But you guys could have more than 1 or more than 2 episodes out per week. Essentially, if we win, and you guys get that video's 50 likes, we'll post the next round the next day. So it's going to be hot fire until we are done. Hopefully it's not one and done. Fingers crossed, again, knock on wood. But before we leave, let's just take a quick look at the stats of this season. We were the 24th offense. Again, we know that we weren't putting a lot of yardage out there, but we were the number 1 defense. So that is fantastic to see. It was all rushing for the most part. Bernard Elliott still under 3,000 passing, close to 2,800, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He typically keeps the turnovers limited, which is great. 65% completion, though. It's nothing flashy from the quarterback spot. He did end up with a 100.4 QBR. As for the rushing, it is 1,628 yards for Kenneth Walker III on 277 carries. He averaged just shy of 6 yards per carry, 18 touchdowns. He did not fumble a single time, and he had 50 broken tackles. Elliott did run for an additional 5 more touchdowns, 632 yards, so in total he was over 3,000, but nothing spectacular. The one thing to note, he did not fumble, so that is fantastic. Sheldon had a few carries, 75, 269 yards, averaged about 3.5 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Givens had 2 touchdowns, including the real stamper in that Vikings game. And Hassan Haskins did have 1 rushing touchdown, though he did not run very well, 8 times 9 yards. Receiving, Sky Moore for the second year is our leading receiver. 759 yards on 50 catches, 8 touchdowns, which is way better than Nico Collins on the same amount of catches, way more yards, a lot more touchdowns. He didn't have a good year. Donovan Peoples-Jones didn't have a good year. Schoonmaker continues to be pretty solid. Kenneth Walker, by the way, had an additional 279 yards and 3 more touchdowns, putting his total at 21 touchdowns this year. Fantastic. The rookie and Tony Fowler only had 7 catches, 82 yards, and we just weren't passing that much. And Ronnie Bell, in his return, did get a touchdown, which is great to see. Blocking-wise, how did we do? Raymond, a much better year. Godecki, 7, as well as Onwenu. As for Andy Hawkins, the rookie at center, only gave up 3 sacks. That is great. Conklin, too. And did the other rookie get to play much? Costa had 144 snaps, 0 sacks given up, so pretty good from him. Our leading tackler was Lacey. No one over 100, but Lacey was the only linebacker for us that played consistently, whether it was the 3-4 or the nickel. He ended up with 94. Hawkins was our next guy. You don't always like your corners to be the next, but there were 2 of the top 4, so interesting there. Tackles for a loss, it is Max Crosby who went off. We'll check that in a second. 14 tackles for a loss for Crosby, 13 for Seiler, 12 for Thomas, 11 for Pay. We had 4 guys in the double digits. Fantastic. Uche even had his best year, and he shouldn't have even been out there much unless Madden messed with my depth chart, which it likes to do a whole lot. We signed Mike Dana, and it doesn't look like Dana played a whole lot, so I'm just assuming Madden changed the depth chart. But Max Crosby, fantastic. 23 sacks. Is that the record? I wasn't sure if TJ Watt broke it. He apparently tied it with 22.5. So by half a sack, Max Crosby set the single season sack record here with us. We had 6.5 for Seiler and Thomas. Thomas, very much a very consistent player. We see the same stats pretty much every single year. Pay had 6 sacks, 4 for Uche, 2 for Hurst, 1 for Morris, and split between Metellus and Hill. Interception-wise, 3 for Metellus as well as Sean Murphy-Bunting, 2 for Peppers, and 1 for Daxton Hill. We didn't get a lot of them, but they came when we needed them. Most of those came in the final game against the Vikings. We forced 4 fumbles, Metellus, Sean Murphy-Bunting, the rookie in Ronald Richards, who didn't get that much playing time this year. Unfortunately, we just weren't out in the base packages that often. And Reggie Hawkins also forced a fumble. Of those 4, we recovered 1 by Josh Metellus. Did we have any block kicks? No. Safeties? No. Defensive touchdowns? No. Kicking wise, not as good of a year here for Jake Moody. He did not go 100 across the board. 80% on his field goals, 95% on his extra points. If you like punting stats, well, we downed 9 inside the 20, but 16 were touchbacks, so it wasn't great for Behringer. He averaged 47.7 yards per punt, and we did not have any kick or punt returns. But overall, that was a fantastic season. Had a little bit of drama towards the middle. We only ended up losing 3 games, so the drama was contained, though a lot of our wins were very close games. We had to rely on our defense playing phenomenally, which they did, and a whole lot on Kenneth Walker. Will that be able to continue in the playoffs? We'll find out next time, and to make sure you also find out, make sure you stick around. Hit that bell icon in the bottom right, or scroll down, hit the sub button. They both do the same thing, and subscribing to this channel. It's completely free to you. It just helps this channel grow as we're closing in on the 1K. I want to say, as the last I checked, we were about 70-ish off of the 1K. So if you enjoyed, do hit that button. Stick around as the next round, or the first round for us of the playoffs, which will be the divisional, will be out on Wednesday. This series every single Wednesday, Saturday. Again, as we get to the playoffs, it changes. Well, win and 50 likes, the next round is the next day. So you guys could have this series on Wednesday, Thursday, which would be the NFC Conference Championship, and then Friday could be the Super Bowl if we win and if you guys get the video 50 likes. So make sure you stay tuned, have the bell icon tapped so that way you're notified of when the videos go live, and do not also miss the Panthers franchise. Got to show that one a little bit of some love. Every single Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we very well might have some double uploads again on Thursday and Friday if you guys get the videos all the love. So until next time, where we are playoff bound, we'll see you then.
How it's supposed to feel.